My name is Commissioner Frank Avila, and I'm a commissioner at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. And today, as my guest, I have Wanda Arakaki Leopold, and she's the president of Organic Networking Limited. Wanda has been a lifelong Chicagoan, born and raised here in Chicago. She is a very active member of the local Sunrise Rotary Club, the Wild One Native Gardening Club, and a leader in Bright Dawn Root and Shoot, an environmental and humanitarian service club of the Jane Goodall Institute. Wanda feels very strongly about promoting and protecting our country's small farms, our country food supply, the health of our people, and our environment. Thank you for being on our show, Wanda.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, Wanda, when I first met you, and I met you up at the Daily Plaza that day they're having Green Day.
Right.
And you were at that booth there, and you were distributing, you were with another group called Organic
The Organic School Project,
yeah.
Right.
And I said, boy, I got to have Wanda on our show so she could talk about Organic Networking Limited. Wanda, what is Organic Networking Limited?
I started Organic Networking 2 years ago. It's my food brokerage business, and I sell organic and all-natural foods for small farmers and small producers. So I noticed that farmers, they're so busy farming, there's nobody out there really working for them. There's big corporations. I was involved with community-supported agriculture, CSAs, where I would get a share of vegetables. You would pay for a 20-week subscription, they would call it, and over the summer weekly. So the farmer would get their money ahead of time, and they call it shared crops, shared rewards. So you would make this investment, and I noticed that lots of times all the shares didn't sell out, and I wondered why they didn't sell it to restaurants or to grocery stores. And then I realized it's because they're busy farming. And I wondered who's out there working for the small family farmer, especially for organic farmers. And the more I thought about it, I thought there's an application, there's something I can do. I wasn't very happy with the type of work I was doing. I had been a court reporter for some 20 years, something I never really intended to do, but you just end up doing the same line of work. And yeah. This is something that I really enjoy. I enjoy meeting the farmers and going to the farms, and I'm so proud to represent them and their food because it's such high quality food.
And these farmers, as you mentioned, you started your business in 2005.
Yes.
And your clientele now are your small farmers.
Yes.
And are they predominantly organic farmers or other types of farms?
They're almost all organic farms. There's some all natural. For small farmers, I have 2 dairy farmers in McHenry, and that's Belvedere. These are family farmers that have a long tradition of being dairy farmers. And it takes a lot of money and a lot of time to convert over to organics.
Yes.
So they don't administer the growth hormone. They grow most of their own crops. They graze the animals, weather permitting, as long as they can. But in the organic program, if an animal gets sick and you need to administer antibiotics, you would have to pull that animal from the program, and you would have to ship them to market for meat. They wouldn't be organic anymore. So for a small farmer, family farmer, that's very expensive.
Yes.
To do that. So there's a lot of issues with organics. A lot of places like Stonyfield Farms or Organic Valley, Organic Bouquet, they'll actually help their farmers convert over to organics because it's a very long, very expensive process. The land would have to be free of chemical fertilizers and pesticides for a minimum of 3 years. That's a long time.
3 years?
Yes.
Because by that time, I might have washed everything out of the soil then.
Right. But in the meantime, you have to earn a living.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's lots of challenges to it, and hopefully our government will see that subsidizing family farmers and organic farmers, not just big corporate farms. That's where most farm subsidies go to.
Sure.
And people always think, well, why should you care about the family farmer? They get all those government subsidies. So they don't realize that by the time it trickles down to the little family farmer, they're really not getting that. So.
You know, do you have a background in food brokerage and sales?
Actually, none at all, and I shouldn't say that. I hope people don't see me on here. No, this is just a passion of mine, and the organic industry is pretty young.
Yes.
And it's a different group of people you'll find in this industry. There's a lot of, especially in Chicago, there's a lot of startups, a lot of grassroots businesses, and I call my business organic networking because that's exactly what I do. I network, and that's how I can do my selling, is by building relationships with people, with buyers, with restaurants, and my friends that do have startup businesses in the organic industry. We all help each other. I'll sell to them. I'm also their customer. You know,
Sure.
I have two friends that have organic grocery delivery service businesses. Now they buy product from me, and I also have them deliver groceries to my home. So.
Oh, that's excellent. Now,
yes.
You mentioned that your market area, is that in the Chicagoland area? Do you cover the 6 counties, or do you cover like the northern part of Illinois, or maybe all of Illinois?
Well, there's so much in the Chicago metropolitan area alone that keeps me quite busy.
Is that Cook County to Page? Are you covering the 6 counties then?
Well, my farmers, they'll be in DeKalb and McHenry, and I do have to drive around.
6 counties, yes.
Yeah. So there's quite a bit. I found people, fair trade, organic coffee roastery out in Crystal Lake, family owned.
Fair trade.
Fair trade, yes, that's another buzzword here in the industry. So fair trade means that the farmers and the producers are paid a living wage. People don't realize, I don't know if you've seen Black Gold, the documentary about the coffee growers.
Oh yes, down in
in Africa.
Africa. Where,
right.
Where this large coffee house here buys their coffee there, but at a lower price, and then they sell it here for $5 a cup.
Right.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that the farmer in third world countries and the farmers here in the United States and Canada, all over the world, they're the ones that are doing most of the work, and they don't always reap the rewards. So fair trade means that they're getting a better price. So consumers are getting more educated about this, and they're looking for the Fair Trade Federation label to see that their coffee or their chocolate certified fair trade.
Is this a fair trade? Is this is not a non-governmental type of agency? It's just a public agency or nonprofit?
I think it is nonprofit and private. The Fair Trade Federation, they have their own symbol and they have their own process of certification.
Now, the farmers that you work for around here in the 6 county area, do they belong with this organization also, or?
Well, I started out wanting to work with local family farmers.
Okay.
And then I started to branch out more to include social mission-based and fair trade businesses.
Yes.
So I do have a chocolate client, and they're fair trade and organic. And they're also social mission-based because they are a for-profit business, but they're raising funds in order to help the Huichol Indians of the Sierra Madres, so to keep their culture alive. And I asked them, well, how can you donate all your profits? And the workers in the office are actually volunteers. So it's pretty amazing. The founder, Brant Secunda, is an actual shaman. They're very ancient culture of learning about spirituality. They have a whole healing, visionary artwork, and he's learned all that he does healing retreats all over the world. So they're a protected tribe, the Huichol Indians of the Sierra Madres. They've actually had to be moved because there's so many influences in the modern culture, and their poverty would pull them into the cities. So they want to keep their culture alive, and they want to help these people. So that's what Shaman Chocolates does, and that's one of my clients. So, and I have another social mission-based company I work for that uses organic ingredients in their cookies and crackers. And that's my family farm, Baking the World a Better Place. And again, two sisters who are social workers, worked with children and saw the damage of child abuse and all the problems. And Annie Bennett wanted to work on the other end of it, of prevention.
Prevention.
So,
I think that's the key,
yes.
prevention.
So they started this for-profit business in order to raise funds for children's charities, like the ones that they founded and, you know, were directors of and still support. But their partner charity is right here in Chicago, which is Prevent Child Abuse America. And Annie goes around and gives lectures. So not only does she have this great business with healthy crackers and cookies for children, animal shaped, they're very cute, tasty, they're, you know, it's really wonderful. This is what this industry is about.
And would you say that organic food has more nutrition than your, what they call non-organic food?
I believe that because like these cookies and crackers, there's no trans fats in it. And it's using real organic whole wheat. So if you look at the list of ingredients, it's much cleaner than what you have when you see Nabisco and things like that. So in my family, we eat organic, and sometimes when I'm out and I have a conventional potato chip, it's like, oh, this is so salty, and or a pop, and it's so sweet, and you realize that's what most people are used to eating. But we have, my husband and son will say, well, you've ruined us because we're used to eating such high quality food here, and it really is.
You know, you mentioned how does organic agriculture technique help protect our waterways from pollution?
It's really interesting because I never thought of this before, and once I started learning more about it, about the runoff and erosion that happens with conventional farming when you're doing intensive farming of the same crops over large areas of land over and over again, and you're dependent on nitrogen-based chemical fertilizers and a lot of irrigation. There's a lot of runoff, there's a lot of erosion, and along with that runoff to our streams and rivers and lakes, and there's the pesticides are in there. So and then if you're raising animals and you're giving them growth hormones or steroids, that's ending up in our waterways too. So organic agriculture promotes using, and I heard somebody say, well, the composting isn't that dangerous but they're heating up to make sure that compost is safe that they're using. Because I read it on the internet, she posted, like, I read that organic agriculture is responsible for the E. coli outbreak of the spinach, and I'm not going to eat organic anymore.
I doubt it.
Well, conventional farming allows sewage, and people don't realize that, and organics doesn't. So
you know that epidemic or that outbreak of E. coli in the spinach.
Mm-hmm.
As I was reading the paper, I think they said about 200 to 300 people got sick.
Right.
And maybe up to about 10 people died because of E. coli. I'm pretty sure it was a small number of statistics on the illness and people that died from it. And that was just E. coli in the spinach.
Right.
And they said that was from the livestock waste that got loosed at one time and went into the field where that spinach was being grown.
And that's one of the reasons why going back to a local source and a smaller source is important, because when you start industrializing our food system, then when one thing goes wrong, it contaminates everything, like we saw with that product that came from China that contaminated the pet supply, and then we found out that it was fed to the animals that we've been eating.
Yes.
That's a real concern.
Oh yeah, and you know, the number one killer here in the United States for male is heart attacks.
Right.
And heart attacks, what's caused heart attacks? Could be stress, It could be cholesterol in our veins clogging it up, and
Sure.
and boom, you're dead. And the number one death for women is also heart attacks. And so it's probably stress and the food that we're eating, and we're
Right.
not exercising. And so what you're working at is at the front end now
Right.
of how to make people healthy, or the
Sure.
whole family healthy. So later on in their life, they'll take less pharmaceutical drugs to keep healthy,
Yes.
and all this has a play in how to keep our environment healthy and safe.
Right. And I think every culture knew that about food, that you're eating it for nutritional value. It's fuel. And it not just, and also for taste, but I think we've gotten so far away from that with processed foods that we look at food where it should be cheap and just a lot, and we think that's a good deal. And people are actually spending too much on food with processed junk food.
Yeah.
And if they would, because I get that a lot from friends, they'll say, oh, well, we can't afford to buy organic.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot cheaper to buy a nice organic chicken and some nice organic vegetables and grains and cook a good dinner, and you get a couple meals out of it probably, than eating out fast food.
Because on the nutrition,
The
maybe
nutrition, yeah, and cost-wise, it probably actually works out to be cheaper.
sure. On overall, your health is better.
Sure.
They were saying that organic farming has more nutrition than non-organic farming, and that let's say you spend for some organic vegetable, you may spend $1.50 for it, and then you get a non-organic, you may pay $1 for it. Well, that extra 50% that you're paying may provide you with 300% or 400% more in nutrient.
Yeah, when the soil is nurtured and there's nutrients in the soil that they're taking care of, then of course you're going to be growing better crops, and it's going to taste better. And if you buy it locally, it's going to be fresher, because you got to look at that aspect too of all the fuel we're wasting to
Yeah.
ship in product from different parts of the world. And we have to think about securing our food source here, our local food source, our water and our food, to make sure it's safe.
Yes. Now, is that the reason why, you mentioned that the consumer believes just by spending twice as much money on organic food, they're helping the environment? That's what they're also doing, as you
Right.
mentioned, is that if they go to a local farmer, he doesn't have that fuel cost of trucking it over here, because right
Right.
now, how much is gas right now?
Yeah.
Gas is sky high,
Right.
So if they buy their vegetables across in maybe 5 states from us, maybe 2,000 miles from us,
Sure.
they have to pay for all that transportation coming up here. Whereas you go
Right.
to a local farmer, he's right there. You buy from him, and you're saving on the environment. You're getting more nutrition,
Right.
and everyone benefits.
Yeah. And I think there's so many farmers markets out here now, because people are realizing how much fun it is to get to know your farmer, know your food, like the Green
Yeah.
City Market says. And it's true. It's great fun.
Now, do you they, as you mentioned, they say that all this organic food is just for the elite, that you have to be really well to do to buy organic food.
Well, I shouldn't say this because I sell organic meats and organic cheeses,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you the way to do it is to decrease your use of animal product.
Animal product?
Yes, because that's where the expense is. And really, you're not supposed to be eating huge amounts of meat and dairy. If you limit that and you eat the way you're supposed to, if you're eating a lot of whole grains and a lot of fruits and vegetables, and you use the meat and the dairy as flavoring, or you go vegan
Vegan? No.
or vegetarian, then it is going to be a lot more cost effective. But we don't have to eat meat and dairy at every meal or even every day.
Yeah.
So there are ways to stretch your food and to budget a bit. And then if you really, I believe in eating organic as much as possible, because I've read things where they'll say, well, you know, buy the organic strawberries because that's where a lot of pesticides are used, but don't worry about the bananas. Well, I think you have to.
Well, I think you have to worry about the banana.
Right, right. But I mean, they're saying that the pesticide saturation won't be in your fruits and vegetables. There's certain ones that it's so intensive that, yeah, definitely,
Okay.
even if you wash it, Consumer Reports did a study and they still found a lot of residue.
Yeah.
So people are just thinking about themselves, but going back to our water, it's going back into our environment.
Yes.
So I always encourage organic as much as possible for that reason. Because I've talked to people who have said, well, I don't get it. Why should you spend money on organic fruits and vegetables? Because you just wash it. Well, where's that water going with the pesticides?
It has to go someplace.
Right, right.
You know, I never thought of it that way.
Right, right.
But you're correct.
Sure.
And then, you know, you mentioned a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
A vegan is a person that strictly eats vegetables, raw vegetables.
No, it doesn't have to be raw. They'll eat cooked vegetables. They just don't eat animal products. So that means no dairy and no meat.
Okay, so they believe that you do not eat anything that had a mother.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. If it had a mother, don't eat it. So so that's a vegan.
Right. Seafood. Yeah.
Seafood. Because you know my
Eggs.
Yeah. My wife took me to a place in California, Lemon Grove, California, called the Optimum Health Institute, and I thought I was going to a spa. But it was a place where they ate nothing but raw vegetables. Raw, nothing cooked. That's what they believe in. And you liquid fast 3 days out of the week. We spent 3 weeks there. And the first week, my kids call me and says, "Dad, how's it going?"
You said, "I'm hungry."
And I says, "You know, I think your mother went nuts." I said, "Boy, this is all we got here is raw vegetables." I mean, it was something different.
Right.
Because I was used to eating a lot of I like kosher hot dogs, beef sandwiches, you know, everything you could imagine, pop, you know, and so it was a change of life for me, and so the first week was hard. The second, third week was okay, and I got home and my doctor took a blood test on me, and my cholesterol dropped down to 96.
Wow.
And I had high blood pressure, and I didn't have to take the high blood pressure pills.
That's great.
Because I was exercising, yoga, and eating raw vegetables. Now look at me. I'm good looking. I got a nice personality, a good dancer, a good singer.
And I bet you felt better, right?
Yes.
You felt different.
So, but that's a vegan. That's a vegan. And you got other, and a person doesn't have to go 100% vegan to stay healthy.
Sure.
Because other things in our life will make us sick also, like stress and our mental attitude. But if you combine everything, I think you have a good life ahead of you.
Oh, definitely.
So do you find it hard then going to different restaurants and finding new clients, trying and market the organic foods? Well,
there's you start out with the ones that you don't need to convert because they already believe in it, and that's quite easy. I was just at Crust yesterday with Michael Altenberg, and I was there with my cheese distributor, and we both sell product there. So that's simple. When somebody already is looking for the organic product, and you can just give it to them. Yes, for conventional restaurateurs, it is difficult. Plus, they understand Whole Foods. They understand there's a market there, but they're still looking at, oh, you know what? This is expensive. It's more money. We'd have to raise our prices. Will people pay it? And you have to say, yes, there is a market there. There definitely is. There's people looking for it. There's people that have stopped eating out at restaurants because they want organic and they can't find it. So it does take some selling and some convincing.
Would you go when you go find a new client? Would you go talk to the chef, or would you go talk to, or is the chef and the owner the same in these restaurants?
Sometimes the chef and owner are the same, and they might have a business partner. And when I call, I just ask, who I can speak to.
Yes.
And it's usually the chef that will talk to me.
And do you find that the chefs are getting more trained or want to learn more about organic food? Because, you know, when you have a business, you have to make a profit.
Right, right.
And if they feel that, as you're doing, you're out marketing organic foods, and as time go on, more people are going to say, hey, maybe there's something to this organic food. That is there a school that you could recommend? You know, you want to sell the organic food to them, but then these chefs will have to learn how to prepare it.
Well, it's very high quality food. So what I'm really selling is high quality food. Because they're going to look at it and they'll say, well, a lot of them just believe organic is just a buzzword and it's just a marketing trend, that they really don't believe in it. But once they see the quality and they taste the difference, then that's what they're looking at. And it's just kind of like, people don't want to be called a tree hugger because that's like a derogatory term. So if you look at the way things are marketed, I'm no tree hugger, but I do care about the environment. So it's the same thing. You can just market and say this is just really high quality, and you want the best quality and taste. And it's like, oh, of course I do, but I also want the best price. And then you say, well, then you have the added benefit of being organic, that there are people looking for that and will pay a premium for it.
Yeah, well, my wife and I, that's when we go on to eat, that's what we look for now.
Right.
We look to find if the food is organic, and we tend to, we still sometimes will have things that we're not supposed to eat because, you know, no one's perfect.
Sure.
Right? But majority of the time we try and eat a lot of vegetables.
That's good.
Maybe a lot of organic. You know, at first in me I thought that maybe buying organic was too expensive, but I found out that I was wrong.
Right.
I found out that extra 25 cents I'm paying, or that extra 50 cents I'm paying, gives me back 500% in nutrients.
Sure.
You know, to make me healthy.
Right.
And so that's why my wife and I are going that way now.
And that's how you get your family to eat the vegetables and fruits, is to have it really high quality organic, because it's fresh and it tastes good.
Now, what suggestion do you have for ordinary Americans to help them transition over to organic food as far as budgeting?
I would start small. So you can start with maybe one item, and especially if you have children and they're drinking milk, start with the milk. And I'm a strong believer in the eggs, because I know about the cruelty in the egg business and of conventional eggs, and that's always bothered me. So I'd say start with your milk and eggs. If you have a baby, then oh my goodness, you're going to have to go with, you know, if you're not nursing, you'll have to go with the organic formula and the organic baby food if you're not going to make your own. But that's just so critical with babies and small children. Then you have to try to do as much as you can. But yeah, start small. The high ticket item, if you want to do the meats, like I said, try to spread it out and stretch your meats.
Oh, thank you.
That way.
Well, you know, Wanda, I now I know why they call you the expert of organic networking.
Thank you.
Well, you are, because you are showing how one could go out and eat and buy organic. And I think this is going to be here for long.